The creation of a detailed Microsoft project plan is critical for the baselining and ongoing management of any project, particularly larger and more complex projects. For a project manager or PMO, it is a fundamental and essential tool of the trade. Now, before you run off building a project plan, there are a number of things that you need to do first. There is data that you need to gather that you require to build a project plan. And one of the things that you require is an initial statement of scope. And this can be provided through a project brief or a draft project initiation document. And within that document, you'll have a series of assumptions, and this is project speak for guesses. Now, once you've got that scope statement, you are now ready to start the planning process through planning workshops. And in these workshops, you are going to gather that data in order to build your project plan. You will gather the information on what types of activities or delivery activities you are required to deliver a milestone schedule. What are the dependencies? What are the resourcing requirements? And this will drive out your cost information and further assumptions. Now, in these planning workshops, the first thing that you're going to work out is what are you going to deliver against the scope, i.e. a product breakdown structure or PBS. Then you're going to work out how you are going to deliver it and by who and how long it's going to take through a work breakdown structure or WBS. But once you've got this information, you are then ready to draft your Microsoft project plan based on that PID, the PBS, the WBS, and any other outputs from your planning workshops with your team and stakeholders. But once you've gone through these iterations, you'll take that information and you'll update your PID. And a PID is an extremely useful tool in my opinion. It is the filing cabinet that not only contains what you are going to deliver, but how you are going to deliver it. And once you've got this agreement with your stakeholder and your sponsors and your team, you are then ready to baseline your Microsoft project plan. Now, baselining is not just a switch you flick in Microsoft Project. Now, as a change professional, the project baseline is vital because it provides clarity and transparency. It represents your stake in the ground, that line in the sand which you manage change from. It is the delivery contract not only with your sponsor but with your stakeholders and also your delivery team. Product breakdown structure. What are we going to deliver to satisfy our project scope? So, for the purposes of this exercise, we are going to build and deliver a new computer. Now, within the scope statement, we will have a description of the deliverable or deliverables with quality criteria defined, i.e., what does success look like? So for our computer, this could be performance requirements to manage certain tasks in a data warehouse environment, for example. The PBS details the breakdown of those deliverables and also helps identify any key dependencies. So if we take our computer, what are the sub-deliverables that make that computer? So here we have a main unit, monitor, mouse and keyboard. And these are the sub-deliverables that make up our computer build. Now, like our computer, each of these have their own sub-deliverables. So if we look at the main unit, we have housing, hard drive, video card and motherboard, and the same for the monitor, mouse and keyboard. Now keep an eye on the PBS numbering, as this will help us define the shape of our plan. Now the PBS should look something like this, and help identify the structure of what you are going to deliver in your project, along with other data that you are going to gather during your workshops. Like, how will you build and deliver your computer or your WBS, by who, and the estimates on work and duration. And during these planning workshops, you will agree the dependencies, not only internally to your project, but also external to your project. And through these planning workshops, you will maintain a log of assumptions or the guesses that you've made. And if you are unable to validate the data behind these assumptions, you will then manage them as risks going forwards. With all this data and all this work that you have done with the right people, you are now ready to build your project plan. So, without further ado, let's open up Microsoft Project. I'm going to open a blank project here, and what you can see here on the left hand side is the task pane. This is where you enter your tasks that make up your work breakdown structure to deliver your product breakdown structure. And on the right hand side you can see the Gantt chart, which is the graphical representation of your work breakdown structure. Now, before we do anything else, there are a number of settings I want to change. I want to make sure that we are all starting the project on exactly the same date, so you can compare your outputs from what you're doing to what I'm doing, and they should be exactly the same. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that any tasks that we create within the task pane are auto scheduled. We're also going to bring the entry bar back, which disappeared, I think, in MS Project 2016 from the project default view. And I just want to bring it back because I find it really useful when making any changes or minute changes to any of the tasks once I've entered them, and I think you'll find it useful too. And thirdly, the timeline bar, which I think was introduced in MS Project 2010. Irrespective, I've never really seen it used by any organisation to any extent, and for these purposes of this exercise we're going to remove it. So first, let's go to File, then select Options, then we're going to select Schedule, and on the new tasks created here we're going to change this setting to auto scheduled. Now, we've done this for this particular project file. However, you can change this setting to be for all new projects created. But for now, we're just going to leave it for this project file. Now we're going to select Display. Then on the entry bar, we're going to select the tick box to bring back the entry bar and click OK. And there you can see the entry bar has now appeared. Then we're going to go to View ribbon and we're going to untick the timeline, and the timeline has now disappeared. Next, we're going to go to the Project ribbon and we're going to select the project information, and here we're going to change the start date to be the 4th of July 2022 and then click OK. Now we've made these changes, we are now going to save this project file as MS Project Training Part 1. So we're going to go to File, Save As. I'm going to select my folder and enter here MS Project Training Part 1 and then click Save. We have now made all the settings changes we need, and we have changed the project start date to be the 4th of July, and if you look over to the right on the Gantt chart you can see the date there, the 4th of July. We're now ready to start building our project plan.